Alright, I just have miscellaneous stuff to talk about today. Let's start with this Joseph. Um, Men with arrows became his enemies, right? So these are men who fight from a distance, right? Again, this is talking about human behavior. Um, and there are men who fight from a distance, right? This like kind of refers back to Simeon and Levi's secret meetings, right? Uh, their evil plans, right? They are fighting from a distance, right? And good men always get defeated because they don't understand betrayal. They don't understand betrayal, nor do they understand the ambush, right? Because when men like Simeon and Levi go after you, they will make sure that you know there is no fight. They will just ambush you. And that's what happened to Joseph. So they fought from a distance, right? But it says Joseph himself has his own bow, right? And so this is saying that Joseph fought from a distance, right? And we go back to how did he fight from a distance? Well, he befriended Simeon and Levi. He gave them land. He gave them nice coats. Um, he fought from a distance, right? But he was able to eventually open his father's eyes. No, no, no. And I love this line right here with his skillful arms, right? Because when we talk about men who fight from a distance, yeah, no, Simeon and Levi do fight from a distance, and these are men, and this is neither a male or female thing. But we could generally say that women are better at fighting from a distance than men are. It's more natural, and this is what the skillful arms uh, implies. Joseph is fighting like a woman. He's fighting very skillfully. Do 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 do. And this idea of a skillful arm or a mighty arm is used later on in Exodus, and then the same imagery is taking place. Okay, real quickly, I don't really know what's going on with this Benjamin stuff. So, if anybody has any ideas, I would be interested. I'm also, Zebulon is unclear to me. This second line is just, wily little Moses defining the future borders of his people. No, 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 no. But yeah, no, I don't really know what's going. But the rest of them, are pretty clear. Even Zebulun himself is kind of sheepish, right? Because this was a pretty long story, and I'm pretty sure we don't hear Zebulun, Gad, Asher, or Naphtali. These are these are like NPCs, right? Um, Naphtali is described like a deer, right? So if you look at this second line, his words are beautiful. That could be taken as a positive uh, praise of Naphtali, or it could be making fun of Naphtali. His words are beautiful. And I think the second one is true because this is a deer, right? This is not a positive description. Asher, I'm assuming he likes to eat. He's probably a carnal or maybe fat man. And Gad sounds like he's like the diligence guy. Like nobody's gonna steal from me. Constant diligence. Um, right? And then there's poor Issachar. um, but that one thing I do want to talk about is in the Torah they love to make lists, right? There's lists all over the Torah, and these lists are boring and pretty useless. You know, later on in the Torah, they they're not doing scientific exactitude with these lists, right? Because you can't. There's not enough space on the page to name everybody. I mean, we're talking about a census with everybody's names and where they live and who their parents are. That would be a big list. And you just can't do that. And so it's like, why are they wasting our time with all this stuff? But this and again, all this stuff is esoteric. They write lists for a reason, right? And I think it's right here that we see why they write lists, right? Because they're all saying that rabbis should keep character lists, right? And these are character lists that they should keep in their head. This is all about marking the forehead. Now, Naphtali's forehead is marked. Issachar's forehead is marked by Joseph. Like Joseph sees Issachar, and he has marked him as a worker, as a donkey. um, and again, this isn't a judgment because Joseph, Moses, and Abraham are, set up the trap, and it is within that trap that Issachar will reveal himself. He will either choose uh, the blue pill or the red pill, and it is from those choices that you can make these lists. It's not Joseph judging, because Joseph can easily judge all these men. They're all they're all a party to his attempted murder. But to describe Naphtali as a deer doesn't really describe him as a murderer, now does it? So Joseph, through his ways, is able to view Naphtali properly, right? Because judgment is an intimate thing. They're all technically guilty of murder. Naphtali's technically guilty of murder, but if you look at Joseph, Joseph is saying, no, this guy is incapable of being a murderer. I think so. He's almost getting rid of Naphtali's guilt in this list. But at the same time, he's putting other guilt upon him. He's like, well, this guy's a deer, right? That's why he got caught up being a goon of Simeon, right? And I think this is the Torah writers are trying to get the rabbis who read this, the wise Jewish rabbis, to make lists like this, right? That's why they make the lists. Now, I talked about Reuben in one of these videos, and I talked about the anger that Moses has towards men like this, men like Reuben, who have false compassion. But at the same time, and I do stand by that. There is a sort of anger here, but at the same time, you could look at this as a wholeness, right? And you could look at emotions as whole, right? And to this idea that we have to have one emotion within us is kind of strange. Because there is anger towards this behavior, but at the same time, like think about this like a comedy, right? So if you go back to Reuben tearing his clothes, right? I mean, he's kind of a pathetic figure, he would fit really well. This Reuben character would fit really well in a comedy, right? If you think about someone like Peter Griffin or Homer Simpson, these are characters that you wouldn't want to be around, but it's funny to laugh at them, right? It is funny to laugh at Reuben. And so him tearing his clothes, Joseph, he doesn't care about Joseph. If he did, he'd kick Simeon and Levi's ass. He's the firstborn, but he didn't. He slept with his father's wife, but there is this comedy here, and we definitely see this comedy with Issachar. I mean, Joseph is totally making fun of Issachar here. Judah is being made fun of. Judah is being made fun of in the same way Ninurta is being made fun of by the author of the exploits of Ninurta. Judah and Ninurta are the same type of character. Judah's. This is like a of mice and men type thing, where you have the dumb big guy, and then the short smart guy. Um, so yeah, no, there is also a lot of comedy here because I think these writers are men who have rediscovered their innocence, and um, like in Egypt it says your heart will be placed on a scale, and if it's as light as a feather, you can go to heaven, and that's the same thing that's going on with Moses here. Moses is like a child, and there's a lot of very serious men who are not going to like anything that I'm saying because they're very, very serious, right? But Moses has rediscovered he is in the Garden of Innocence, and so I think he's. I mean, Reuben as a comedic figure is. I mean, this is humiliating for him, right? That is the that is really the punishment of your true name, right? And then at one point I talked about the God of Moses as being I am, and I really talked about him this in regards to work, right? But here we see with Issachar um, that I am work is part of the whole, right? So I am a writer is only part of the whole. And Moses is clearly saying that if you identify yourself solely by your work, then you're not whole. And he's saying this with Issachar. So, added to that, we could say, I am a brother or a father or a mother or a friend. I am a lover. I am whole, right? So, yeah, no, there's that. Um, I think finally I want to end with the Sargon of Akkad. Now, um, I was reading the legend of Akkad, and it is, I guess, it is based upon two broken cuneiform tablets. I haven't even finished them all. It's a short text, but whatever. I was captivated by the first few lines, though. Um, so based off of these first two texts and these lines, it begins with something like, I am Sargon, the mighty king, king of Akkad. And that's the first line. And the second line is, I was born of a lowly mother, and I did not know my father. And so these two lines are extremely powerful if you know the Mesopotamian world, right? Because, I mean, we're talking about really the difference between aristocracy and a meritocracy, right? It is vastly unknown that Genghis Khan had a Mongol civil war, and the Mongol civil war was really based upon aristocracy versus meritocracy, and it was Genghis that fought for the God of Abraham, and uh, the gods of Valhalla, right? And he fought for the meritocracy, right? And he won, right? This is uh, this puts a different spin on Genghis Khan's conquests, right? Because this is more of a legal conquest, and that's kind of what we see with Genghis. But this idea in Mesopotamia that you could be born of a lowly woman and a father that you don't even know, I mean, that's kind of sounds like a prostitute. Um, but to be born of a lowly woman and to become a mighty king, that's sin. That is evil. If you go to the Canaanite aristocracy, they would murder and murder and murder anyone who would believe such a thing, right? Because Moses talks about giants, right? And it's the same thing. It's the same thing is going on. Moses is for this meritocracy. I mean, what makes Sargon the great and mighty king? He did, and that's what he's saying in that first sentence, right? He did. He made himself the king, right? Because he's the BMF. He's a bad motherfucker, and that's and to think of kingship like that is revolutionary, right? This is about a self-made man, and it is very clear from these first two lines that that's what this author is going for. To have this distinction. Um, I can't really take that much more from the text because it's just so short. um, but like when Moses writes his writings, um, he's hiding it just like the Sumerians were. He's speaking with the double tongue, and when Moses writes the word giants, he's purposely trying to mislead the reader. I think it's Moses who talks about giants, but I know they do talk about giants in the Torah. Um, but that's what they're going for when they're talking about giants. They're talking about aristocracy, right? Because this is the countenance of the aristocrats, right? And I guess again, this goes back to them murdering anybody who could say that a man born of a lowly woman could be king. Like they would just straight up kill people who went around saying stuff like that because it is sacrilegious, right? Because the kings of the Canaanites were aristocrats, right? Mm-hmm. And so when Moses, I think it's Moses, but when the Torah uses giants, that is exactly what they're talking about. They're talking about um, people who rule over others, um, who don't deserve to rule over others, right? I mean, Moses doesn't think anybody should be ruling over anybody, right? He believes in a free society, or he believes that the law should be ruling over us. um, and if we wanted to do a modern day analogy of who the giants are, well, we would talk about the corporations and the bureaucrats, right? They are giants, and their countenance is just so much more powerful over us, and everybody out there is afraid of them, right? Um, and I think, and what I'm going for here is, I'm trying to really describe the poetry of the Torah, right? Because I mean, to describe a corporation as a giant is good poetry, right? Because it fits with our experience. Um, I mean, you just can't talk badly about the corporation. Uh, to anybody, right? I mean, even if you talk about badly about the corporation to a man who supposedly believes in freedom, he'll probably think you're a communist. But I mean, yeah, to talk about aristocrats as giants. Because I mean, yeah, this really goes back to who are you, Moses, to rule over us, right? And Moses is really saying here that the self-made man and the man who has justice in his heart, the man who has love in his heart, and the man who has wisdom also has jurisdiction.